Hello,
Hi.
it's Pam and Dylan.
Oh, yeah.
Are we getting a little more comfortable with this or
Not at all.
no?
No, not me. No.
I'm really distracted by the glare in my glasses, but I'm hoping that you'll be able to look past it. No pun intended. Because I can't see a thing without them. So I need to have them on. Last video, we talked about the proposal and our wedding.
Yep.
And that was kind of fun to reminisce.
Yeah.
And then, what happened next? We moved.
Yeah, we moved to the city of Edmonton.
And we moved to some beautiful apartments. It's a big 1-bedroom, I think.
No, the first one was a 2-bedroom.
2-bedroom. And
nice.
I just remember it was clean, it was beautiful, and we had almost zero furniture to put in it. Yeah. We didn't have a couch.
We almost had actually zero money.
We didn't have a table. We have a picture of us somewhere sitting, around a cardboard box eating tacos.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, that was one of the better meals I ever had.
We had a little TV that
Yeah.
we had kind of propped up.
Well, we had a little TV. It hardly even worked. It had like little glaring lines if you ever watched TV, like all the time.
And did it have the big bunny ears that we always
Little
had
bunny
to
ears,
put tinfoil on and try and get a signal?
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
And we would sit on the floor.
Yeah.
So I don't know what we were thinking. We had a fairly expensive, nice apartment.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Nothing to put in it.
No, nothing, and we couldn't really afford it because at the time you were trying to go to school and I was working $8 an hour. Ooh, big money.
Yeah, I was taking my 2-year after degree teaching program, and to get my Bachelor of Education. And tell us about your job. You were working for.
I was working for Home Hardware in Spruce Grove, which is about a 15-minute commute or so from Edmonton, where we lived in the west side of Edmonton area. And it was quite the experience. I was driving a 3-ton lumber delivery truck and delivering lumber all over the Edmonton area. And it was a very new thing for me.
And I remember telling these stories after, because it was before cell phones, so he couldn't call me or text me and tell me what was going on. But the stories that he told about just the things that were going on and getting stuck, right? And angry customers and
tearing the fenders off the truck and not getting fired, actually. It was quite incredible that they didn't fire me. But wow. I drove around with no fenders around the city of Edmonton for probably the rest of the time I was there, for probably another 2 months. And the DOTs, those would be the transportation people, they pulled me over and I thought, oh, I'm in trouble now. And they said, yeah, your brakes could be adjusted. Other than that, everything looks great. And I said, well, what about the front fenders? They're totally gone. My wheels are totally open. It says, I've seen worse. Just keep going. So I don't think any DOT would have let anybody get away with that now, but it was.
See, this is why this is fun to do, because I don't even remember that. Like, that's news to me. And so It's really fun to hear each other's perspectives and realize that my version of the history, it might need to be adjusted a little bit. Speaking of adjusted,
I'm gonna get the
sun
really quick.
Is blaring on you. Oh, now it's dark.
Well, we can still see, and we're professionals here.
Yeah, our professional lighting.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, as we had one car. Maybe we should talk about that. We had one car, and so on the days that I had to be in class early, we would drive across the city because the university was on the very far east side.
That's right.
And he was working
a long ways.
15 minutes out of the city on the exact opposite side, on the west side. Yeah. So he would drive me to the school and drop me off there outside the door.
Basically an hour early, wasn't it?
And it wasn't open.
Yeah.
Not quite an hour early. Well, an hour early for my class, but an hour early for my class.
Yeah.
But not an hour before they opened the doors. But sometimes it was a while. And I remember standing out there just absolutely freezing, just praying that somebody would come and open the doors in the middle of a Canadian winter.
Yeah.
And other times I would drive you to work.
Yeah.
And
sometimes.
then I would take the car and go. So it just depended on the schedule.
We kind of shared the car.
But we made it work, but it wasn't easy.
It was her car too. It wasn't mine. Mine was a trash can on wheels. Well, what ended up happening with mine, we couldn't afford 2 vehicles for insurance anyways, and I had my vehicle parked in the street. They had to do winter removal, but we only had 1 parking stall in the apartment complex we're in. So, long story short, I just got the city of Edmonton. Well, I didn't ask them to, but they towed away my car, and bye. And I didn't bother getting it, but in order to renew my license, they charged me a big towing fee, so I had to pay I had no idea that was going to happen, and so I probably would have been best to get the car back anyways.
Yes.
And try and sell it.
Because we called the impound, it was called, right?
Yeah.
And they said it was, I don't know, I think it was almost $500, which at the time for us was an astronomical sum to get it out.
Yeah, it was
so
quite a
we
lot.
thought, we don't have a parking spot for it. It might get towed away again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess we're just leaving that car there. So,
Yeah.
But it was too bad. Goodbye, little baby blue Tempo.
It had 400,000 kilometers on it, and it was still going.
Yeah, it was 1986, right?
Yeah.
Ford Tempo.
I would have been 11 in 1986.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. So.
In a way. So.
Yeah.
But that kind of illustrates that we didn't have the money for this fancy apartment, and we realized that all of a sudden we realized like all of our money is going to this apartment, and we don't have money to live. And so we started frantically looking for another place, and we found one fairly close by. It was a couple $100 at least a month less.
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
And it was also like kind of stinky, kind of dirty.
And it came equipped with a very grouchy landlord.
And I remember the stove. I spent like almost a day cleaning that stove.
Yeah.
Like it was just disgusting.
Yeah.
I don't think the carpets had been cleaned for anyway.
And people pooped in the stairwell.
People.
Or pardon me, people's dogs. Yeah, we that happened a couple times. Pam doesn't remember that.
I don't remember that, but he distinctly remembers this stairwell situation. I don't remember that, so thankfully.
It was pretty appalling.
I guess it traumatized me, so I had to forget it.
It was, let's just say it was a bit of a downgrade from the other
It was
apartment.
a bit of a downgrade.
Yeah.
And then during that time was when I was doing my practicum, and I was walking, and I realized, like I talked about in my last video that I did when I was celebrating our daughter's birthday, and realizing that I was pregnant. And in that video I talked about, like, I thought I had the flu. I was walking to this practicum to this school, St. Mary's Catholic School, I think it was, grade 6, and I was throwing up on the way there.
Yeah.
And I could hardly keep it together, and I ended up having to withdraw from the program, and that was just heartbreaking and really tough. It was just a really tough time, all in all, right?
Yeah.
But what do you remember about that? Like, did you? Because I couldn't remember if I decided to take a pregnancy test, or you suggested it, or it just dawned on us at the same time.
I think we kind of both came to a consensus that you should take a pregnancy test, because we're a little suspicious that's what it possibly was.
Yeah, I wasn't at all thinking that, but that was what it was. So, good news, I wasn't sick. Bad news, I was really sick. I ended up in the hospital, and just really, really sick for a long time.
Yeah.
And we were trying to hold it together during that time because it was very stressful, and I was really sick. I didn't have the vehicle.
Keeping in mind, when we got married, we only knew each other literally for 6 months. So, and then basically 6 months later, Pam was pregnant, and
it's a lot of stress.
we were very stressed as a newlywed couple.
So what are we doing? But we got through that, and thanks to God.
Yeah.
Right?
But the interesting thing about all that, I mean, I was making a fortune. I was making $8 an hour. Remember this. So, anyways, all kidding aside, I'd looked for a lot of work before we got married, and I worked in a sawmill when I was living in BC, in British Columbia, down on the coast, and so I had a fair amount of experience doing that. And there was a mill along the highway that I applied for probably almost a year before, and they said they weren't accepting applicants. And I knew this was going to pay significantly more. And
they even had a big sign, right? When you open the door,
not accepting applicants. So yeah, I went in there. I went in there and I said to the secretary, I came in, I said, don't tell me you're still not hiring. It's been a year. I was here a year ago and you're still not hiring? She said, yeah, we're still not. And I was like, well, all right. I said, I'll just leave my resume again and see what happens. I didn't have a very good attitude in there because I was frustrated, right? I knew Pam was pregnant. I knew I had to make a lot more money to provide for a baby and stuff like that. So I kind of walked out a little bit dejected and kind of in some ways a bit of a bad attitude leaving. And the superintendent, one of the superintendents there, he said, hey, he stopped me. He was looking at my resume all of a sudden. He said, hey, stop. And I was like, what? He's like, he says, do you have a problem with peeing in a cup? And I was like, what? He's like, drug and alcohol test? And I said, no, I have no problem with that. And he said, well, if you pass that, you got a job. I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, pass that, you got a job. So he called me the next Monday and I went and did the whole thing and I got hired pretty much immediately. And it was a real answer to prayer. I had kind of a shaky faith at that time, being a young man, and just seeing God's provision there was just mind-blowing for me. Mm-hmm. So and for Pam.
Yeah, that was a real example of God's faithfulness to us. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what you were saying you wanted to be the theme of this video, right? Of how God provides and is faithful. And looking back, how you can see his hand helping. And so this job in Spruce Grove really made a big difference for us, making ends meet. Mm-hmm. And then at that time also, we knew that, we have to get yet another place to live.
Because this is an adults only complex, that apartment.
Yeah, it was an adults only complex. And so we were looking for a place, and we found one in Spruce Grove, which was close to where he would be working.
A very cute little bungalow of a house. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah, and I actually recently went by there and took pictures, but I don't have them on me. I should insert them somewhere if I was editing these properly. So for $650 a month, we were able to move into this little cute house, it's still there. It was old at the time, but thankfully, thanks to Arlie Jesperson, who was a realtor, and we had some connections to him, and it was actually the house that his son had lived in, and his son had tragically died in a helicopter accident.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of tragedy involved, but I think that had been quite a while before. But he had this place sitting empty, and when he heard, we were looking, he offered it to us. So thankfully, we had a little room for our daughter's crib to be set up in, and we thought we had quite a bit of time. We thought, she wasn't due till November 5th or something like that. And so we thought, we have a little bit of time.
No, later in October. November 5th.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And something like that.
Oh, you're right.
And so we thought we had a little bit more time to kind of set things up. But that's not what happened.
Nope. I go to work on a Saturday. I would take as many overtime shifts as I possibly could. So that usually is Saturday. Mm-hmm. And anyways, I was cutting 2x4s and 2x6s to, stud construction lengths and whatever. And quite a dangerous job. I have a saw that comes up like this right in front of your face, and you got a guard, obviously, but and it's very high. It was a very high-paced job. And all of a sudden, this guy taps on my shoulder, and it just kind of startled me. I was just in the middle of cutting a piece of wood, and anyways, long story short, I was a taxi driver, and I know Pam mentioned in her video, and I think he told me, yeah, my wife was in labor. I don't know if I left immediately. I think I was a little bit flustered. It took a while for me to process what was going on, and then I think he's the one who's kind of encouraged me, you better go.
You better go.
I think I even checked with the boss on the crew.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, I've just kind of always been a dedicated kind of worker, so...
Well, I know it felt like
I left pretty quick.
It felt like quite a while till you got there, but I think it just felt that way because I was kind of getting into a panic mode.
Yeah. I left quite almost immediately, but I think I was so flustered. And, you know, I think I started leaving, and I think my boss was looking at me, and I was like, oh, my wife's in labor, I have to go. So,
yeah, well.
And he's like, go.
It would be kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and a lot to process when you're right in the middle of a busy job and busy.
Very loud in there, too, like Pam was saying.
Yeah.
Like,
and so backing up, what happened on my end, I'll just retell really quickly that he had left in the morning and said, you gonna be okay? I'm gonna go to work. And I said, well, it should be fine. Yeah, like she's not due or we didn't know it was a girl at that point. Baby's not due for like 3 weeks. We're good. And and then my water broke. And I didn't really clue in for a while. And then by the time I clued in and actually did a little research, I realized, you know, because I had like What to Expect When You're Expecting, that big book. I think I looked in there and it was like,
yeah, she didn't Google it because we didn't have that yet.
when your water breaks, like you actually have to get to the hospital pretty quick, and the hospital was in the city, so we had a bit of a commute there. Plus, I started calling around trying to find people, somebody that could take me to the hospital, and then finally I was like, all I could think of is call a taxi, get them to go find Dylan and bring him home. So that's how it happened. And then in my last video, I was confused about whether we had paid the taxi driver, and you remembered that you had offered to pay them.
About a week later, I offered to pay them, and I said, my wife called one of your taxi drivers when she was in labor, and I'm here to settle our debt. And they're like, oh, don't worry about that. Basically just asking how we're doing. They were very good to us.
Yeah,
and
that was nice.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. So it's taking a longer time than I thought to tell these stories. But where do we want to go next? So we're in a little house in Spruce Grove. We have a newborn baby girl. How did you feel during that time? Like what do you remember about being a dad? Yeah, like just.
I think I was scared like any young guy, but I was very thrilled that I had a daughter, because I really didn't. In my bloodline, anyways, there's really not a lot of girls, and on her side, it's a good mix.
I'm just gonna try opening this again.
So, anyways, I was thrilled that I had a little girl, and I think I bowed to her when she couldn't hear me. She's just doing her little goo goo gaga, whatever. When she was born, actually not even that, but I was holding her in the hospital room, and I just vowed to do the best I could to protect her, and
you did a good job.
I think I did an okay job. I can be very slow to act, because I don't like conflict at all, but I think I tried my best. Sometimes probably overprotective at times.
So that was kind of, I don't know, chapter 3 or 4 of our story.
Yeah, probably meeting. Chapter 4.
Meeting in the restaurant.
Yeah.
And then
getting married. Parenthood.
Yeah, and now we're starting the parenthood journey. And so thanks for coming along. We'll tell you what happened maybe next time, because we weren't in that house for too long either. We made a big move after that.
Yeah.
And we also had another child eventually. And I also went back to school and got my teaching degree. So, yeah, lots of stuff happened.
Yeah. Okay. More adventures to come.
Yeah. Okay. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye-bye.